Welcome to Live Interactive English. Hello everyone, I'm Mike.
And I'm Rainbow.
And today we are beginning our Christmas story because it's Christmas and there are many wonderful Christmas stories that we love to share with you guys every year. And this year it's one of my favorites. It's the classic Charles Dickens story of A Christmas Carol. We'll be reading it in 2 parts over 2 days. And we should mention that if you know what Christmas carols are, those are those happy songs that we sing at Christmas time. Joy to the world, or
we wish you a Merry
Christmas, things like that. There are no Christmas carols in the story A Christmas Carol. I don't think there's much singing in it. There's no time in the story where any of the characters will just burst into song, but it is still a very, very famous and very loved Christmas story. And the title is, of course, A Christmas Carol.
Is that something you grew up with?
I think everyone kind of grows up with this.
Not here.
There's many, many versions of it. They made one, of course, with the classic telling in a black and white film from a long time ago. There was Bill Murray in the 1980s, had a comedy called Scrooged, which tells the same story. And then more recently, of course, Jim Carrey and Steven Spielberg and Robert Zemeckis, they made a CGI version of this, which is also very, very entertaining. So this is a story that has been popular for, I'd say around 150 years.
Wow.
And a lot of people, if you've not heard the original story the way we will tell it, you've seen it in a TV show or a movie or a cartoon. It is such a well-known story and a good story to kind of talk about the spirit of Christmas, the spirit of love and friendship that Christmas really brings out in a lot of people.
I am so excited. Let's go
good.
and get into the story.
All right.
Ebenezer Scrooge was a bitter old man who loved only money. On Christmas Eve, he complained that his employee, Bob, wouldn't be working the next day. He also refused to give money to 2 men who were collecting for charity.
All right, so yes, the title is A Christmas Carol, and it's written by the famous English writer Charles Dickens. This is actually one of his shorter stories. If you want to try to read it, I encourage you to give it a shot. But let's get into it.
Ebenezer Scrooge was a bitter old man who loved only money. Well, I guess we all know somebody that looks like a bitter old man. There are a lot of them here. Now, this adjective is describing a person who looks like they are not happy about life. When you look at a bitter person's face, they just look so upset and angry, like you owed them $1 million. So if a person is bitter, that means they are not satisfied with what is happening to them. Now, something else can be bitter. It is also a taste. So if you eat something that's bitter, some people don't like it, like bitter melon, then you might feel like, how do we describe that taste if it was bitter? It's kind of yucky. Some people feel like it's not sweet, it's not salty, and some kids really don't like this bitter taste. I have a sentence for you. She spoke with a bitter tone about her unfair treatment. That would mean she was complaining.
Oh, okay. And people can be bitter if they feel that life has been really unfair to them for a long, long time.
That's right.
Maybe they won't admit that sometimes they make their own problems, or maybe they just can't accept that sometimes you are just unlucky in life, and that's just the way things go. If that sort of feeling of unluckiness, that feeling of unfairness, it starts to really affect their personality, then they might be very bitter, and there's very little in the world that can make them smile or make them happy. They always kind of see the bad or negative side in things. And this is the kind of character that Ebenezer Scrooge was. He even has a name that sounds like he's
yucky,
a bitter
like
old man.
Grinch.
The only thing he valued was money. He didn't value friends or family or anything like that. His biggest thing in life was money, money, and more money. So it says on Christmas Eve, he complained that his employee, Bob, wouldn't be working the next day. Poor Bob worked really, really hard. He got one day off every year for Christmas. But even Scrooge, this bitter old man, wouldn't let him have that one day off. He complained that, Bob, you're not going to be working tomorrow and I'm going to lose money, even if it's just one day. When someone complains, they're telling you about all the things that they're unhappy with, all the things that they don't like, all the things that they think are just not good enough. And it's okay, if something has disappointed you, if you feel let down, you can complain about things. If you feel that something unfair has happened to you, it's okay to complain about that.
Okay.
In fact, you should complain when you're not being treated well, but if you only complain and that's all you seem to do, it can be hard on the people around you to hear those complaints. That would be the noun form. When you complain, you are talking about all your different complaints, the things that you aren't happy with. For example, they complained that the food in the restaurant was too expensive. Okay, well, you can just go to a different restaurant in the future, but if you feel that it's really unfair, then by all means, go and complain. So let's get back to our story with Ebenezer Scrooge complaining about things around Christmas time when most people should be in a good mood and be feeling happy.
Yeah. He also refused to give money to two men who were collecting for charity. And we know that charity is doing something good for people who need it. And he was like, no, I want to keep all my money. I'm going to complain about everything in my life. And if you ask me for money, I'm going to say no, go away.
Even if they're going to give that money to poor, hungry children on Christmas Day.
No.
Ebenezer Scrooge didn't want to help that out. What a bitter and angry old man. All right, let's take a break and then we'll be back.
Hello， 大家好，我是 Hanny。这次要读的故事是英国作家 Charles Dickens 的作品《A Christmas Carol》小气财神。其中的 Carol 它常常是指圣诞颂歌、圣歌或是赞美歌，所以这个作品也有人把它翻译成圣诞颂歌。好，故事一开始就提到 Ebenezer Scrooge 是一个充满怨恨、只爱金钱的老人。那在圣诞夜，他就抱怨他的员工 Bob 隔天不工作，他还拒绝了捐钱给2位为慈善募款的人。好，来看单字 bitter 可以形容是苦的，不过在这边是形容充满怨恨的、愤愤不平的。complain 这个动词则表示抱怨、诉苦。那补充单字 charity 它表示慈善，这时候是不可数名词，那它也可以当可数名词来指慈善机构。好，接回到课文中。
That night, Scrooge was visited by the ghost of his dead business partner, Marley. Marley's ghost was a horrible sight. He was covered in chains and said that he was required to walk the earth as punishment for his greed. He told Scrooge that he would be visited by 3 other ghosts during the night. Later, when the clock struck 12, the ghost of Christmas past appeared. This ghost showed Scrooge happy Christmases from when he was younger. Scrooge saw how much fun he used to have and how many people cared for him. Seeing these memories was too much for Scrooge, and he demanded to be taken home. Before he knew it, he was back in his bedroom. There, a second ghost was waiting for him.
I am the ghost of Christmas present, and there is more to show you,
said the ghost.
Let's go to your employee's house.
So So we've got Ebenezer Scrooge, a really unhappy guy. All he cared about was money. He complained to other people and he would not give money to charity. And he's just in a really bad mood during Christmas or maybe all the time.
That's right. And of course, now it's Christmas Eve. It's December 24th, the night before Christmas. Most people are looking forward to the big day tomorrow, spending time with their family, friends,
gifts,
and
meals.
loved ones. That's right. But old Ebenezer Scrooge, he is all alone in his big, fancy, empty, cold house. So let's see what happens to him. Well, things get interesting now. That night, so this is the night, as I said, Christmas Eve, the night before Christmas. That night, Scrooge was visited by the ghost of his dead business partner, Marley. That's right. Jacob Marley was the man's name. He used to be in business with Ebenezer Scrooge. They were friends in the past, but of course, Marley died a long time ago. It says Marley's ghost was a horrible sight. It scared Ebenezer Scrooge almost out of his mind. Marley looked like he just arrived from a haunted house. He's all, old and thin. His hair is falling out. He's got chains hanging from his arms and legs. He really is a vision of horror. He looks horrible. If something is horrible, this adjective means it looks terrible. It looks awful. It looks really bad. You could use it just to say something was really not good, like that was a horrible bowl of soup that I just had. I think you put sugar in it instead of salt. Or you could use it to talk about something that's more frightening and terrifying. It was a horrible experience being on that boat during the big storm. We thought we would sink. We thought we could die. It was a very, very awful, terrible thing. But either way, horrible is not good. For example, Will had a horrible experience during the trip. He almost got eaten by a bear.
Yeah,
it's pretty horrible.
Really horrible.
Yeah. Not a cute bear, too, but an angry bear.
Grizzly bear.
Yeah, a hungry bear. All right, back to the story.
He was covered in chains and said that he was required to walk the earth as punishment for his greed. So he also only wanted money. He told Scrooge that he would be visited by 3 other ghosts during the night. This sounds like a warning, and he's talking about punishment. What that word means is punishment is what happens to you when you do something wrong. So if you are a child and you are not doing your homework, maybe your parents would say, I'm going to ground you. You're going to stay at home. You're not allowed to go outside and play. You can't buy any candy. You have to finish your homework. Maybe that would be a punishment. If you grow up and you are a bad person, sometimes something bad could happen to you as a punishment too. I have a sentence for you. Stealing is wrong, and it often leads to serious punishment. Of course, this could be being caught by the police, or like your parents are really upset at you. There will be some consequence that happens as a result of doing something wrong or doing something bad. Let's go back to the article to see what happens.
All right, so Marley has appeared, the dead former business partner of Scrooge, and Marley is there to warn Scrooge that bad things will happen. 3 ghosts will visit you this Christmas Eve night, and you should listen to their advice. So Scrooge doesn't know what's going to happen, but he does know it's not gonna be good. So later, when the clock struck 12, dong, 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 the ghost of Christmas past appeared. So this is midnight as we go from the 24th to the 25th, Christmas Eve to Christmas Day. The first ghost appears right at the stroke of midnight, right when the clock rings 12 midnight. And this is the ghost of Christmas past. Ooh, so Scrooge's past, his history, the things that happened before in his life. This ghost showed Scrooge happy Christmases from when he was younger. He's shown in love and dancing and having fun and being a nice young man. Aww. Scrooge saw in this vision, in this old dream, this old memory, Scrooge saw how much fun he used to have and How many people cared for him?
Well, he didn't always used to be that
there
way.
was the man he used to work for, and I think his daughter was the one that Scrooge was in love with. His life seemed lovely. It seemed like it would be filled with wonderful things and wonderful people. But clearly, when we see the old Scrooge, that's not what happened.
Seeing these memories was too much for Scrooge, and he demanded to be taken home.
Take me home.
He didn't want to be reminded. Before he knew it, he was back in his bedroom. There, a second ghost was waiting for him. I am the ghost of Christmas present, and there is more to show you, said the ghost. So present is right now. Let's go to your employee's house. I want you to see what happens to him right now.
Ah, so this is the second ghost of the three ghosts of Christmas. Christmas present. Scrooge will see what effect his behavior, the way he lives his life today, is that effect what it has on the people around him, including his loyal employee Bob. But to find out what exactly happens and what happens to Scrooge at the end of the story, you're going to have to come back tomorrow. Sorry. See you then. Bye.
刚刚说在圣诞夜 ，Scrooge 他抱怨员工隔天不工作，然后也拒绝捐钱给慈善募款的人。那天晚上，已经死去的商业伙伴 Marley 他的鬼魂来找 Scrooge。那个鬼魂看起来很可怕，身上捆着锁链，还说他被要求要在世间游荡，来作为对他贪心的惩罚。那他就告诉 Scrooge， 晚上还会有另外3个幽灵来找他。来看单字 horrible。Horrible 是形容可怕的、糟糕的 ，punishment 则表示惩罚、处罚。Greed 这个名词表示贪婪、贪心，注意它是不可数名词。故事接着写道，后来12点的报时钟响起，过去的圣诞幽灵出现了。那这个幽灵让 Scrooge 看到他年轻时快乐的圣诞节，他就看到他过去曾经多么的开心，以及有多少人关心他。那看到这些回忆让 Scrooge 无法承受，他就要求幽灵把他带回家。那转瞬间他就回到自己的卧房了。那么第2个幽灵，也就是现在的圣诞幽灵，在那边等着他。幽灵有更多东西要给他看，于是他们就前往 Scrooge 员工的家里。好，那这边2个重点，我们进入文法时间。好，我们来看第一个重点是 WH 疑问词引导名词子句的用法。WH 疑问词像 what、where、why、when、who、which、how， 它们所引导的名词子句呢，可以当主词、受词或补语用。用来当主词的话，动词要用单数型哦。举例来说 ，What you did was very thoughtful。你所做的事非常体贴。那名词子句 What you did 是当主词用，要视为单数，所以后面搭配了单数动词 was。再看个例句 ，Do you know where they live？ 你知道他们住哪里吗？那名词子句 where they live 就是当受词用。第2个重点是 used to 加原形动词，这表示过去曾经怎么样，过去经常怎么样，用来表示过去的习惯或状况，带有现在情况已经改变的语义。例如 Dylan used to shower twice a day。Dylan 以前都会一天冲澡2次，但是现在没有这种习惯了。那比较用法是 get used to 或是 be used to， 表示习惯于什么什么。to 在这边是介系词哦，所以后面是接名词或动名词。那么 get 跟 be 动词的差别就在于 get 强调逐渐习惯于什么，那 be 动词则表示习惯于什么样的状态。我们看2个例句 Dylan is used to showering at night。 Dylan 习惯晚上冲澡。He's getting used to the weather here。 他逐渐习惯这里的天气了。好，那么以上这些讲解，同学别走开，马上回来哦。
Ebenezer Scrooge was a bitter old man who loved only money. On Christmas Eve, he complained that his employee, Bob, wouldn't be working the next day. He also refused to give money to 2 men who were collecting for charity. That night, Scrooge was visited by the ghost of his dead business partner, Marley. Marley's ghost was a horrible sight. He was covered in chains and said that he was required to walk the earth as punishment for his greed. He told Scrooge that he would be visited by 3 other ghosts during the night. Later, when the clock struck 12, the ghost of Christmas past appeared. This ghost showed Scrooge happy Christmases from when he was younger. Scrooge saw how much fun he used to have and how many people cared for him. Seeing these memories was too much for Scrooge, and he demanded to be taken home. Before he knew it, he was back in his bedroom. There, a second ghost was waiting for him.
I am the ghost of Christmas present, and there is more to show you,
said the ghost.
Let's go to your employee's house.
Are you okay? You seem a little bit flustered.
I'm such a scatterbrain. I swear I left my report here yesterday, but I just can't find it.
Scatterbrain? Does that mean there's something wrong with your brain?
No, Shane. It just means that I'm being forgetful and disorganized. And it's really frustrating because I have to find that report for my meeting in an hour.
Oh. Well, have you checked the printer? Sometimes I print things up and then forget it's there.
Here it is, Shane. Looks like I have to be more organized. Okay, this is what I have to do for the meeting. Look at that.
Hi everyone, today's term is scatterbrain, which refers to someone who is disorganized in their thoughts and actions.
It's often used in a lighthearted manner to describe those who are forgetful or absent-minded.
For example, you might say, I'm such a scatterbrain today. I left my phone at home.
Or she's a real scatterbrain. She's always misplacing her keys.
Being a scatterbrain could lead to amusing situations, but it's important to find ways to stay organized, especially at work.
Absolutely. Simple habits like keeping notes and setting reminders can help prevent scatterbrained moments from happening.
And remember, everyone has scatterbrain moments now and then. The key is to stay positive, learn from mistakes, and keep moving forward.
That's right. And that's our lesson for today.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.